Welcome back to part 3 of the Final Fantasy XIII-2 80% speedrun video tutorial. Picking up right where we left off, we just picked up Chi-Chu in the Archival Steppe, and we've unlocked Academia 400 AF, so we're going to head right over there for the next storyline segment. We have not done any menuing since we picked up Chi-Chu. We're going to do the first part of the area with the same paradigm pack, same paradigms, same everything. Going to clear the first little area, and then once we pick up a chest, we'll have enough items to level up Chi-Chu to what we need for the next little bit, and then we'll switch him over into our paradigm pack. The fights are pretty straightforward in this area. You don't have to be too concerned about getting preemptive strikes. If you are able to get them, probably saves maybe 2 seconds for each battle, so go for it. But they're pretty simple, especially these first couple with the ghouls. So from here, since we didn't get preemptive, you can do that. So you can do a calm buffer right off the bat, and then by the time that's loaded, Sarah will have already, and by the time you switch into Ravager, Sarah will be ready to go. So that's 8 seconds for that battle. With a preemptive strike, you'd probably be doing between 4 and 6 seconds. Occasionally there is another fight in this area before you can unlock that escalator. So again, you know, it might be another 4-second fight, and that one's definitely easier to get a preemptive strike on.
Who's closing things off?
And we're just going to run out here and then right back in, and that'll kind of lure those enemies over here, so there's less of a chance of running into them on this side. What we want to do is we want to pick up monster materials. We want to pick up power slivers. We're going to need 24 total to level up Chi-Chu, his first Crystarium level. So 24 total here. If you do need any gil at this point, before you buy them, head over here, sell any accessories that are not the Magician's Mark or Grimoire Hat. So this should be all that's left in your accessories section right now. These 3 are going to stay through the end of the game. If you have any components that you really feel would be helpful, anything, you know, one of these is not really going to go a whole lot. But if you have any monster materials, so potent bolts for sure, we can definitely get rid of those. You know, it's only 100 gil, but if gil's really tight at this point, go for it and sell it. So once you have your 24 power slivers, that's all we need from Chocolina for now. Hopefully we can avoid the enemy there.
Taking up position in front of the wall.
Stop just before you think you're too far away, if that makes sense. The hitboxes of some of the enemies, these guys, the kobold droids, and then the fencer in the next area, their hitbox is a little bit weird. And it's a little bit bigger, I think, than other enemies. So if you keep running to be as close as you think you need to be, you're going to end up hitting them. So you want to stop just a little bit farther back. Noel will do a bit of a dead stop, and then you'll attack him from there, and it'll be fine. This is pretty straight ahead, just thunders to stagger, and then that'll finish him. If he ends up attacking Noel, it's going to slow things down a little bit, but it's not so bad. And then once he's staggered, it's pretty easy to take him down from there. You can already start moving as soon as you get back to the field. You don't actually have to wait until the barrier goes down. You can start running right away. In this fight, just target the Taxim. Your area of effect attacks will end up hitting the ghoul. And since you're also in a wide paradigm, one of your party members will probably end up taking care of the ghoul if Noel doesn't. Again, this next spot can be a little bit tricky to get a preemptive strike, just depending on how the monsters move. But again, don't worry too much about it. There's also a little bit of variability. I think you can get between 2 and 4 enemies in this encounter. I usually see 2 or 3. I think I might have seen 4 once before. See there, that was a 6-second preemptive strike, so only 2 seconds better than the one I got at the beginning. So we want to toss Mog over here, just over the edge, check the mini-map to make sure he hasn't bounced off, and then come over here to wait, and that just stops the alarm from sounding. Now we get to add Chi-Chu to our party, so head over to our Paradigm Pack, replace Nekton, and then we're going to head into here and set Relentless Assault as our active paradigm. And this is the last time we're going to come into this section, so we're not changing our monsters again, and we're not changing any of our paradigms again. So what you have here, this is it for the rest of the game. For the Crystarium, we're going to skip Noel and Sarah for now, just head over to Chi-Chu. 24 power slivers is exactly enough to get him through the first level. You'll select ATB gauge as your bonus. And here, there'll be a little bit of variability here. Usually you'll see 8 and 8. Sometimes you might see one's 6, one's 10. Both are 10. But it should be somewhere around here. So this is pretty normal. I would say most of my runs I see 8 and 8 here. So just use them all up. And you'll hopefully get strength plus 10. So if you have 8 and 8, as I normally do, you'll have 4 of these left, and these each cost 4 to get through. So you're going to need 16 orbs later on. So you can just kind of keep that in mind, have a rough idea of where you are, so that you don't have to come back and check the menu later. So we're going to need 4, and this is pretty regular. So if you get up to strength plus 10, we're going to need 16 orbs, which will get us through those 4 crystals. If you don't have enough to get strength plus 10, check to see if you have a Gandax or a mini flan. You should probably have. You've done enough battles, certainly with the mini flan, that you should, almost guaranteed you should have one. You can head in here, and you only need 1 droplet to unlock strength plus 10. So after you do that, then you'd head over to infusion in monsters, and you can infuse the mini flan. We're going over here anyway. We actually want to infuse Nekton. This will give him magic plus 10 and resist magic plus 5, and also increases magic stat a little bit. So there's, 34 points there, which is pretty good. I guess that's what, I guess that would be the 10%. So yeah, and then if you need to do strength plus 10, go ahead and do it there. And that's it. No equipment changes, no leader changes. It's all just, the menu's all about Chi-Chu there. This is random between getting 1 or 2 of these guys. And a lot of these fights from now on too, now that we have Chi-Chu, he's quite a bit more powerful than Noel and Sarah in most cases. He doesn't have any elemental capabilities, but in a lot of cases you can start doing ATB refreshes based on Chi-Chu's attacks. And that's going to be particularly important coming up with the final boss in this area. There is also a little bit of randomness when you head down in this area. Just because monsters are kind of spawning wherever there's Academia citizenry, and they're kind of running around a little bit. Generally, you won't see any down in this area, but it does occasionally happen. Just depending on how you're running down the stairs. Normally I swing a little bit wider when I come down the stairs, and you should usually have enough time to make it through to this cutscene without having to fight anyone. In this area, okay, that was actually a weird spawn. Normally that Nalapsi that's coming straight for me, normally he spawns on the left side of the screen and then flies to the right. So you'd have time to sneak around the Taxim, get by the Nalapsi, and then do a preemptive strike on the second Taxim after that. Then you'd do an escape from that fight, and then you'd run down the escalator, and there's a cutscene at the bottom, so you'd be able to get through the area with 1 reset and no actual full fights. Here we might have to do 2 resets, just depending on if I'm... Okay, I wasn't able to get out of the way. That's quite rare to see that spawn like that. But it's not a no retry fight, so we can just pop out of here, no problem. It does throw off the camera angle, though. When you come out of these fights, you're automatically facing the right. So you know you can just hang towards the right, and you know that that'll be pushing you in the right direction. So we do want to try to get this fight, because that would not... If I'd kept on running, for sure I would have gotten into a no retry fight. So we just want to head out of this direction. And this will be good enough to get us down into the cutscene. So we'll toss Mog over here. Keep an eye on... Whoops. That was weird. And you can just keep an eye on the minimap as you're turning the camera around. If Mog keeps on bouncing down, you know you've missed the mark. And if he stops there, then he should be fine. This is one of the few cases where there's a difference between the PS3 and the PC version. In the PS3 version, you'd have to do an encounter here before you can change the direction of the escalator. And then after you change the direction of the escalator, there are another bunch of spawns. And it's pretty difficult to not encounter them because the timer would start up there. And then as you'd be coming around the corner, the timer would still be active. You actually wouldn't be far enough away. So here, that was kind of a poor spawn. What you want to do in this area, ideally, you want to run towards the corner. So as you come up around, up from the escalator, you come around the corner, and you head straight ahead, and then you'll want to get into, you'll do a preemptive strike, you'll do a retry, and then you'll head across the bridge, and you'll have to crux out once. That's kind of the optimal situation. Here, I was a little bit far back, so I might have to do 2 retries from here. We'll see. Just depending on where the enemies spawn. Okay, we're going to have to do two retries anyway, just because he attacked. Yeah, we definitely don't want to fight any of these. But so long as these are all retries, you're not wasting too much time. Now, as we head down here, just before our timer runs out, we're going to return to the historic crux. So if you hear people talking about this, this is called cruxing out. And surprisingly, it does actually save time over getting into the battle. I think on average it saves probably about 10 to 20 seconds, depending. I was just keeping an eye on my clock there, and that crux out took about 20 to 25 seconds, and any of those battles could take up to 45 seconds, depending on what kind of spawns you get. So it is definitely a time saver, particularly in the PC version. I haven't tested it much on the PS3 version, so I don't know if the loading times on the disc would really save that much time. It could still save a few seconds. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. And it is partly variable on what kind of encounters you're actually getting there. So this fencer is exactly the same as last one. Thunder, stagger, and take him down. And with Chi-Chu here, Chi-Chu is much more powerful than Ekton, so you don't have to worry too much about this at all. You can pick up this Phoenix down either for gill safety later on, or just, kind of as a backup when we get to the end of the game. Next 2 battles are pretty straightforward. We're going to do standard, get Faith on Null, then we'll do comp buffering the rest of the way. And this is pretty much the same thing. If you're able to get any debuffs on him, that'll help a little bit. But otherwise, just get faith on there. And it's smooth sailing. Yeah, pretty straightforward. This is where the real fun comes in. So the next fight is Zenobia. This is easily my most inconsistent fight in the whole game. And you'll see that in other runs too, that this is where runs go to die. So what you need to pay attention to here is Zenobia starts out the fight in a position where you can actually deal damage to her. So she has these tentacles that are sticking out of the ground. So there's 3 of them. You have to defeat those first, and then you're going to start attacking and dealing damage to Zenobia. So once you finish off the tentacles, you'll do 1 round of Relentless Assault, which you'll be in already. You'll switch over to Malevolence. You'll start an auto battle, and you'll use the Feral Link from Gahongas, so you're all buffed. Head over into Smart Bomb. We'll actually have set Sarah as our leader in this battle, so as soon as the battle starts, we're going to switch over to Sarah. And we're going to do this so that we control the debuffs that we're doing. So after we switch out of Malevolence and we're buffed, Sarah's going to throw 2D Protects and 2D Shells. Zenobia will be at a high enough chain level, and using Sarah's Sab bonus at this point, she'll be able to, with 2D Protects and 2D Shells, she'll be able to inflict both of those debuffs on him. Then we're going to switch over into Relentless Assault again and stay there for the rest of the battle without doing a ATB refresh. So at that point, probably 1 more chain of Relentless Assault will bring her up to stagger point. And then at that point, so we can just use Fyra's to start doing damage. And at that point, we're paying attention to Chi-Chu's chain. So when Chi-Chu's ATB gauge has depleted, so after it's completed all of its attacks, that's what we're paying attention to. So not when Sarah and Noel are doing attacks. Zenobia goes back underground at 30% health, 30 or 33% health. So right when you get to that point, you want to be watching, when you start getting to about the halfway point, start watching Chi-Chu's moves pretty closely. When you hit that 30% mark roughly, that's when you're going to do your ATB refresh. And guaranteed you'll have one at that point, because you'll probably have done, I think, about 4 or 5 full ATB gauges at this point. So you'll get a guaranteed ATB refresh. So as soon as Chi-Chu has finished its attacks, you do the refresh, and it goes straight back in. And with the refresh on everybody, you'll be able to take it down in 1 hit. If there's a small amount of HP left, pay attention to that and do Chi-Chu's Feral Link right away, and that'll take it down almost guaranteed. It is fairly, I won't say easy to miss, but it is a tight window, and it does happen. So let's just see what happens here in this fight. So switch right away and start targeting one of the tentacles. And make sure after each tentacle that you're not targeting Zenobia. You don't really want to waste any time doing that. Okay, I'm just going to use a potion here just for safety. So here we do our first chain. And then we head over into Malevolence. Let's get those debuffs in. And now we're paying attention to HP. Okay. Should do it. There we go. Okay, that was a little tight. If I hadn't done that meteorite, that might not have taken care of it. So just play around with this. When you get to this point in the game, just retry this fight a bunch of times. And every fight's going to be pretty different because it all really depends on how the chains are going, like how much damage you're actually doing, where the chain is, you know, when you finish off the tentacles, where you are in your relentless assault, if you've done an ATB refresh at that point. So there is a little bit of variability there. So just practice it, and just pay attention to where the HP is, and pay attention to what Chi-Chu's doing. And we'll have to mash through that text before we can start moving.
The gate is up there, Kubo.
I've tried experimenting a little bit with, there's a chest at the top here, and I've tried experimenting with both throwing Mog from the bottom of the steps, and we have to come back to this area later, once we come out of the gate, which is to our right here, throwing Mog right away for this chest so that we can just continue moving while Mog is getting the chest for us. I've tried experimenting with both those ways, and I haven't really found a consistent way to get a nice throw without having to pause and target properly. So I've just been going ahead and picking up the chest normally. If anyone wants to experiment with that and see if they can actually get a time save out of it, that would be really interesting to know. I'm not sure if it would be worth it. You might save 1 second or 2 seconds. Like it would be a very minimal time save. But I'd just be curious if anybody else has tried that, or if anybody wants to see if they can find a consistent position either on the way up to the gate or coming back through the gate later.
First off,
We're going to do another round of menuing here. This will be the last menu that we're going to do for a while, having to do with the human characters. So we're going to use Sarah for the next little bit, just because she has the fire, the raw, and Ga level spells, and there's effective against Orion enemies and I believe against the Dragoon enemies in this area. So it just gives us kind of better control when we're using comm buffering and getting faith on her. So we're going to head over with Crystarium. So remember that we need another Sab bonus boost. So we don't want her to learn any more spells. So we can see if we do 3 levels, she's going to learn Wound, and we don't want that. So we're going to do 2 levels with Saboteur, and then hover it over to Ravager, and then just use up the rest of her points. And there we have Sab bonus boost available. So check that off, and then you get 1 more out of there. And that's it. That's it for Sarah. We're never going to do any more. She knows all of the Ravager spells. She doesn't need to know any more Saboteur spells. And I'll talk a little bit later about why we're kind of keeping her a little bit under-leveled. So you'll see she only has a little over 1,000 HP, and that's fine. I'll talk about a little bit about that later.
Time to gather some info.
let me guess.
As far as I can tell, this is completely random where the screens are a paradox effect and which one will unlock it.
Thank you. Welcome.
So now we can skip after that.
Can I ask you a stupid question? Is it just me, or can you see all these people around
That's
us
a pretty
as well?
safe throw generally. And once again, wait before you get the text from the box, the item box, before you start activating this. Also, don't do a cutscene skip when you get the one that says thank you for accessing the Academy datanet or whatever it is.
Thank you. Welcome.
Don't do a cutscene skip here because you need to enter the passcode, which is the bottom one, 9261. After that, now you can do the cutscene skip. If you do cutscene skip before you enter the passcode, it'll do a lockdown, and it'll reset all of the terminals, and you'll have to go and find the right one again. I have done that plenty of times.
That was Caius, right?
So he is here. But is he the real Caius?
You can run out here, but don't go to the right at all, because that's going to activate a cutscene. So wait until we get the text, then we can run over here. And we actually have to mash that text before we can do cutscene skip.
Be a trap.
Then we can turn back around and grab this wild artifact and head over this way.
Must be some way we can get across this. If Caius did it,
And again, wait for that wild artifact text to appear.
Why don't we
just a sec. She does look like Alyssa, but it can't be her. Let's find out for sure.
Are all the people who work here the same? Yes.
Oops.
If a person is created artificially, do they still have a
Once you're
spirit?
able to start talking to Alyssa on this side, and
They say spirit
it's going to be
is
somewhere
different
kind of
from
around
us.
in this area that her
Given
text
that
bubble
humans are
appears.
humans only.
As soon as you can talk to her, or once you've talked to her, now you can do it.
We're
Or sorry, as soon as she starts talking, I should say. So she can't interrupt Noel's text there. But you can skip as soon as she starts talking.
This'll show you.
And we're going to hope for an Orion drop here. We have a couple of battles to get one. You can try using Chi-Chu's Feral Link to increase your chances of getting a drop here. I just find it a little bit difficult. It is a little bit difficult to time the Feral Links. With two other characters attacking the enemy, sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to time it. Because, you could start the Feral Link, and by the time he performs it, one of your characters could have already defeated the Orion. But just keep an eye out for those. And there's always a long loading screen after this battle for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. So again, same thing. These three fights. There's 3 fights here on the elevator, and they're all done exactly the same way. Malevolence, and then calm buffering.
Let's regroup. Let's get going. Let's regroup.
The only variability in these fights is really how far the Vespid soldiers fan out.
You deserve a treat.
So no Orion, but that's okay. We still have plenty of time. There's actually time to get more Orions or a Dragoon here. What we're looking for is either of those enemies have Adrenaline, which we want to put onto Chi-Chu. So here we're going to head over to the yellow one in front of us, the one with the number 4 on it. We're going to do 3 turns. This is a little bit less straightforward. This is better reason to memorize the pattern here than it is in Augusta 300. Because Augusta 300, you're pretty much just turning the rooms that are immediately around you, so it's really easy to see. You're in a room, you can't get out, so you press the button until you can get out. Here, you're setting these up to run around the area. So you have to do 3 on that one. Run to the left, you do 1, and you run to the left and you do 1. We want that chest just to Sarah's right there. So depending on how comfortable you are with your Mog throws, you can toss them over there and then run here. Or you can just run over and grab it yourself. And that's an accessory that we're just selling for Gil later. Ideally, in this area, hopefully you won't get any of these. Oops. You don't really want any of these encounters with the Luminous Pumas or the Flanators. Because we don't care about either of these guys. We're not trying to collect them. So ideally you won't get any of those fights. I mean, in a perfect world, what you're looking for is on the elevator, you're going to pick up an Orion, and then you're going to get 1 or 2 fights in this section, and then you're going to see a few more on the next few levels. They're pretty hard to avoid in some cases. These ones are a lot easier to avoid on this floor, though.
The old cocoon fell from the sky because the Fal'Cie who powered it was gone. Then the proto-Fal'Cie was created in its place to make Cocoon float again. At least that's how Hope planned for things to go, right?
Right, but the artificial intelligence needed to build the proto. Let's regroup! Let's regroup! Please work! That's when everything went wrong.
That wasn't too bad. So two encounters is pretty decent for that area. And you can skip all these. Like I said, there's a huge difference between 300 and 200 AF. 300 you can't skip anything. 200 you can skip everything. So here we're going to grab this chest. And we just got an enemy spawn, so we should be pretty safe running over here. And we have to wait because we need to turn this anyway. So in this area, kind of an easy way to remember it is the first room that you come to, you do 1 turn, and then the rest of the turns that you're going to be doing until you come back to that first room are going to be 2 turns each. Oh, we got a dragon. Okay, so we're not too bad off. So like I was saying about the rooms, the first room that you come to, so the one that we already passed, we do 1 turn. We come in here, we do 2 turns. We're going to go out to that stand outside. We're going to do 2 turns out there. We're going to come back into this room, do 2 more, go all the way through the rest of the area. And then when we come back to the first room that we came through at the beginning, we're going to do 1 turn to get us back in the right direction. So that one's kind of a little bit easier to memorize. There's a chest right behind us we're going to want to grab. I've seen some people do a Mog throw here. I don't know if it saves any time or not. Because we have to, because the distance is so short, and we have to come back in here and then wait for the text to show up before we can turn the room anyway. So I'm really not sure how much of a time save is possible there. Depending on where you get your enemy encounters here, Okay, so we should be able to do a Mog throw for that chest that we see across the way, since we got one right here. If we were a little unsure about our encounter, then we would just run out and grab it there. And we're probably pretty close to getting an encounter now, so I'm just going to toss and then wait. We also need to get one more chest right over there. I usually get that on the way back. Unless we get an encounter right away. No, it's a little too far. If we'd gotten one right away, I would have turned around and done a Mog throw and then kept on running, but we'll just get it on the way back. So that area went not too badly.
Let's regroup. Here. Nicely done. This'll show you. Done and
The
done.
Dragoons are pretty easy, so if you get 2 Dragoons, you don't really need to do a Faith boost. You can, but I really don't know how much time it's going to save there. You can just basically alternate. You can just do comm buffers from Relentless Assault.
This is the last key. Next up.
And the
very
next
top
spawn should
floor.
work out pretty nicely to be able to get that next chest.
That's where Caius is
So we should
waiting
get
for
one
us.
pretty soon around here.
Someone who lives and talks a lot
Okay,
like
he's
Caius
behind me.
must.
Oh, it's Flanders.
You might be up there with him, Kubo.
Okay, that was actually kind of...
You're right. Why would the Cirrus come here?
that was a little interesting. That's okay. Should be fine. I'm just going to wait a second just to be safe. And then once we have that, definitely we're safe from there.
Nice.
So just watch where your encounters are in this area. If you can, if you're able to kind of manipulate them a little bit, try to do it so that you're able to throw for all those chests and keep on running. It's not always going to happen though. And then so we're back to the original room here. So again, we do 1 turn and we're free to go. And if you got either a Dragoon or an Orion at this point, this is where you can do one more set of menuing. So you'd head into Crystarium and we'd look for, so we got a Dragoon. Definitely not the best case scenario. Oh, and I'm trying to remember how much we need. I think we have enough. Let's check it out. You only need, it's only level 13 for an Orion. Yeah, we should have enough here. Okay, so you need 24 chips to be able to get to level 18 for an Orion. He's only level, or sorry, on a Dragoon, it's only level 13 on Orion, which is either 13, somewhere around 13, between 13 and 20, I think. So it's just a little bit safer if you have an Orion. And then we're going to head over to Chichu, and we're going to do an infusion. And we're going to throw Adrenaline on there. So it's not worth grinding if you don't get it. And generally you'll have enough encounters that you'll get either a Dragoon or Orion. It's pretty good chance you'll get it in a run. There are lots of runs that are done without them, but just keep an eye on it if you can. This next battle also can be a little bit tight, just depending on how you do your shifts. The old strat that I was using and that I've seen other people do before is to just basically kind of do this as a regular fight. Once the Behemoth gets down to a certain level of HP, he'll do a full refresh on himself. He'll go into a different attack mode. He'll restore his HP, and then you have to beat him all over again. And then you'd save your Feral Link until you got to the Proto-Fal'Cie in the next section. The problem with doing that is when you use your Feral Link on the Proto-Fal'Cie, there's not necessarily, you're not guaranteed to have another Feral Link when you fight the 3rd Gog Magog at the end of a Dying World. And that can be a bit of a problem, because that fight can be pretty dicey if you don't have the Feral Link right away, and depending on how the battles work out between now and then, it could be halfway through the battle before you get the Feral Link, and then so things are just kind of thrown off. So the better strategy here is to use the Feral Link now, and even risk the Behemoth doing a full refresh on himself. But it's still going to, for sure, you're going to get that Feral Link back by the time you fight Gogmagogon again. So we'll just do it here. So we'll switch right away into Malevolence. And yeah, we're good. If you time the refresh right there, Chi-Chu should be able to take it out into 2 full gauges. There's a potion chest up here at the end that you'll want to grab. So as soon as Mog becomes available up here, it's pretty easy to throw.
This must be the heart of the system. I know it's a machine,
And then Mog will pick it up on your way up.
it seems like it's almost breathing.
This first battle is pretty straightforward. You're going to skip fighting the arms, and you're just going to attack Proto-Fal'Cie and take it down.
But are they with us or against us?
So just go straight for Proto-Fal'Cie. And again, you can kind of watch out for what Chi-Chu's doing, because he's the one who's dealing the bulk of the damage here. Once he's staggered, just try to use, you can use raw level spells, because you'll be doing a little bit more damage that way. Or you can even do an auto battle here, and it'll automatically select raw level spells. Nothing to it. In the next one, we are going to take down I believe it's the left manipulator or the right manipulator, whichever one you target first. Take that one down, and then take the other one down, and then we're going to target Adam after that. So we're going to, in the Ravager role as Sarah, we're going to ready a Thunder and 2 Thundaras, and then that's going to be our auto battle, or our repeat for the rest of the battle. We're also going to drop a Libra Scope at the beginning, and we'll probably have to use a potion just to kind of keep our health up a little bit. And then after that, it's pretty simple. So we get a chain up on Adam, and then we're going to get some deep protects on him. And then it's, once he's staggered, you can basically keep him from really doing any damage to you just by doing ATB refreshes and hitting him with raw level spells, and he won't be able to do much. Let's use our Libra Scope there. So once we've got a little bit of a chain on there, now we can head over here and hit him with some deep protects. Should have been enough there. Okay, there we're good.
This should do it.
No way.
Mog!
We gotta stop it!
No!
Sarah, now! Perfect! Okay, my turn! See how you like this! Time for you to go away! For good! Thanks to Mog, huh?
Kupo! You guys play her out, Kupo.
You saved the day.
Thank you. You did great.
Okay, very important for this next section. After we pass through this area, we can skip the first cutscene that comes up. But we do not want to skip this one. I repeat, do not skip before the live trigger shows up. If you do, you will have to fight Adam, and that's going to be a massive time loss. So after the battle is over, skip that first cutscene. Then you're going to live trigger, save the live trigger, go there, and we're going to select this left option, Scream and Hope, and then we can skip a bunch of cutscenes after that. So before we actually continue on with the rest of the story segments here, we're in a little section, I refer to this as the Post-Augusta collection. So after we get to Academia 4XX, before we go in here, because when we get to the end, there are the graviton cores that we're going to have to deliver to Alyssa. We still have to collect 2 more of those. So before we even go in there, we're just going to head back to Academia 400. There are some routes, some people do collect this before they go into Augusta. This, I believe, is the same route as the people who collect the wild artifact in Sunleth. So it's just a slightly different version. I just prefer to come, this is how I learned, and this is just the way I prefer to come and do it. I don't know how much of a difference there is between the two of them. So this is with the other chance that you'd have to come back and grab that, turn around and do a Mog throw. Like I said, though, I really don't know how much of a time save there is there, and possibly not at all. There might just not be a good angle either for running up or down the stairs to throw Mog, you know, get a nice consistent throw and have it save any time. Again, I've tried doing a Mog throw here to grab the artifact as I'm turning around, but you can just so quickly mash to get the artifact as soon as it appears that, again, I don't really think that there's any possible time save there. But if somebody wants to test that out, absolutely feel free to be my guest and see if it yields anything. When you come down here, there is a chance to get an enemy encounter before you hit the gate. I found that hugging the right wall helps avoid that, but of course, as I say that, you're going to get into an encounter. That's fine. It really is not going to waste too much time. But that's the most consistent way that I found is hugging the right wall. I've had more luck doing that and avoiding encounters than going down the middle or the left. But again, it is a bit of a time loss, about almost 30 seconds there. But it's all right. It's not the worst thing in the world. And for some reason, you can't skip whenever you whenever you use a wild artifact to open a gate. You can't skip that cutscene. This is the last time you're going to have to pay attention to greens maintenance on chocobos. Since we are going to be using the crazy chocobo here, which drains your greens as you're on it, rather than using one up as soon as you ride it like a regular chocobo. So when we get off the chocobo at the end, we're going to want 1 green left. We'll just need 1 green, that's it.
Something is happening.
And depending on if you accidentally jump back on a chocobo at a certain point, or If you didn't buy enough at the beginning and you find that you're a little short on greens here, I would use them all up in this area, because the next area that you're going to use them in is 4XX. There are no enemy encounters in that area, so I would just use them all up here. If it looks like it's going to be a little bit tight, use them here to avoid getting an enemy encounter. And then you could potentially say you'd save more lost time, if that makes any sense, rather than trying to save a green here, getting into an encounter, wasting time, and then potentially not making it up by that much by riding the chocobo in 4XX. So you want to position yourself, because after you talk to this chocobo, there's going to be a dialog box that pops up to tell you about it, and then it's going to start walking somewhere. So if you come at it from the left side, it's probably going to start walking towards the screen as we're facing it now. So you want to come around this way so you can kind of force it to walk towards the edge a little bit. Yeah, so retractors. So you should have 5 or 6 greens when you get on the chocobo at this point, and that should be good. If for some reason you didn't pick up the unicorn horn when you were here in 10AF, sorry, 10AF, or sorry, it might have been 1X. If you did not pick it up then, make sure you get it now, because this is your last chance, and you're really going to want it later. So nice and easy, jump off here.
Come on, Mog.
Oh, Mog's pretty far behind.
Come on, Mog.
He's usually pretty close there. Grab that, match through the text, and then we're going to crux out after we get an encounter. And that's it for the Graviton course. So now we can complete the next main part of the quest. When you come back to the Historia Crux there, and you're centered over 100 AF, you can press L1, or sorry, you can press down to go into 400, and then press L1 and then up 2 to get into 4XX. But it's almost the same number of button inputs as to press down and then just hold right to get over to 4XX. So I don't think there's any time saved there, like there is when you're switching between Erba and Sunlith, or when you're switching between Serendipity or the Archival Steppe and Academia. So yeah, I really don't think there's a time save there in terms of changing the layout of the Historia Crux. Unless you happen to feel more comfortable doing one over the other.
Pretty well. What did you do to it anyway?
I sort of have an idea of what happened, but I can't really explain it. It was more of a hunch, really.
A hunch. Well, we won, and that's what matters, I guess.
I haven't checked, but that Chocolina there, I'm not sure if she sells greens. Not all of the Chocolinas in the game sell greens. So if you're desperate, you get to this point and you have no greens left, it wouldn't hurt to go and check. I don't know, or check it out. Maybe go to the Final Fantasy wiki, or if you have a save file there, go and check it out sometime. See if she has any greens. That might be a good backup strat to know. I've only had it happen one run so far where I accidentally jumped back on a chocobo when I was in Sunlith. And it was one of the runs where I didn't have enough Phoenix Downs at the beginning to be able to buy the usual number of the extra green that I normally do, just to be safe. So I had exactly what I needed, and then I ended up using one of them. This next little section's the only really tricky thing about it is just camera positioning, making sure that you're talking to the right person instead of we come out of here, not talking to Hope, but talking to Alyssa. And again, even after you've altered the camera angle, you might still end up be targeting Hope. And Alyssa tries to run away from you sometimes, so. And then of course it moves you back into that area. And that's it for that section. Now we're going to want to grab a silver chocobo before we leave. I've had really various luck about getting this. I've been testing about whether it's more consistent to do it on the right or the left. Left seems to be consistent. When I was first learning this, I forget whose video I was watching, but whoever's video I was watching, they did it on the right, and I think they got it on their first or second throw, so I just kind of assumed that that was the one that you did. And I don't actually know if anybody's notes references this. I don't think Zero's notes reference which side to throw it on. But there was one night when I was streaming and I was having really terrible, I think it took me 6 throws to get Silver Chocobo. Got to give a huge thanks to Striving, who was watching that night. I forget if he was there when I was doing it or if I was talking about it later in the stream. But he mentioned that he always threw on the left and he found that to be consistent. And the last, I think, 3 or 4 times that I've run this since then, I've thrown on the right and I've got first time every time. So I would say go with the left. And again, huge thanks to Striving for pointing that out.
Let's go.
All right, that's it for now. We'll end for that section. That's another substantial chunk for learning. So getting through academia, it's pretty straightforward. There's just some tricks to learn there, with learning about cruxing out and how to time those enemy encounters. And then of course the Zenobia battle at the end. Just practice that one. That one just takes a bit of a fine eye and a trigger finger to really get that shift at the right time and be ready to do Chi-Chu's Feral Link if need be at the last second. So that's kind of the big points for that. And for the Augusta Tower, just memorizing those the 2 levels. On the first level, do 3 turns, then 1 turn, then 1 turn. And on the second level, 1 turn on the first room, 2 on all subsequent towers, and then 1 on the final return to the last room. And then all the 3 fights after that, the Behemoth and the 2 fights with Proto-Fal'Cie are pretty straightforward. So there's nothing really to be concerned about there. And then the post-Augusta collection is pretty straightforward as well. So that's it for now. Please come back and check out the rest of the videos. I think there should be 2 or 3 more after this. I'll probably break up this next chunk into kind of, again, this is kind of a storyline segment that we're heading into after this. So it's pretty straightforward the next, I don't know, half hour or so of the game. And then I'll probably have one just for the last section, 500 and the final 500 AF and the final boss. So again, thanks so much for checking this out. Come and check me out when I'm streaming on twitch.tv/thesilentgate whenever I'm up there. Leave any comments if you'd like. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer what I can. You can always find me on Twitter as well if you're looking to chat. So thanks again so much for checking this out, and I will see you next time.